Joy is our highest vibration. It's the highest vibration that we can be in this earth school. This is the way it's shown to me. Everything in our spiritual support group is the highest vibration. So when we are able to elevate to that vibration of joy, we are the closest to them in that space.
Welcome, friends. In this episode of Insights at the Edge, my guest is Laurie Nealon. Laurie is an intuitive energy healer, medium, and educator. Her work is profiled on the Phenomena podcast, The Science and Stories of Energy Healing. It's in an episode that explores what happens in the space between a healer and a client. You can learn more at phenomenahealing.com. As I mentioned, Laurie is an educator. She's also a tremendously generous person who shares of her healing gifts and knowledge very freely. She trains healers in her unique approach. We're going to learn more about that. Laurie is also one of the featured teachers, along with Qigong master Robert Peng, in a special new online subtle energy healing immersion program that Sounds True is offering. It begins on August 23rd. You can learn more at go.soundstrue.com/subtle-energy. Again, go.soundstrue.com/subtle-energy. Laurie, welcome.
Thank you, Tami. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me in today.
As a way to help our listeners get to know you a little bit, let's start in learning about your story. I learned that you began 15, 20 years ago receiving dreams from people who had departed. So I guess we won't call them people at that point, but from energetic presences of deceased souls who came to you in your dreams with messages for other people. And that then this started happening in the midst of your waking life. So tell me, here you are, you're in the midst of your waking life. What's happening and what do you do with these messages you're getting?
Thank you. Yes. So the dreams and visions that were happening at night have really been happening for years. I can remember even way back when is middle school. And so those would come through. It would be a very clear message from a loved one on the other side for somebody who was here. And I would deliver that message for whoever it was for. And then about 17 years ago, things started coming into my awake time. It started with what I would call a Holy Spirit moment, where I'd have this wave that goes through and have a really clear knowing about someone or something. And so it might be very specific information that was coming through for a particular person, and I would just basically lead it into conversation and deliver it without sharing that I was receiving it and channeling it. Didn't really even understand it myself, honestly, at that point. About 6 months after those started, that was when I started seeing people who had passed during my awake time. And that rocked my world. That was not mainstream here in New England, 17 years ago. And so I, at first, was like, what is this? And I don't want to be the crazy lady. And so it really kind of came in quickly. And so just being up in prayer, I asked for guidance and to bring me people who could help me understand what was going on. And I was very lucky with a couple of people who ended up aligning in the space with me and were really great in kind of helping me to understand this a bit. This one woman started lining people up for me, and that was amazing. So I'd go to her house, sit with this person I didn't know, and channel for an hour. And word spread because people were sharing their stories of their experiences with me. And then I started shifted to doing it over at my house because people started really reaching out asking for this. And so for a couple of years did just the readings, the channeling. And then the spirit started showing me putting my hands on people. So right around that time, we had a friend who reached out saying she kept getting that she was supposed to be teaching me Reiki. So I was like, okay, here we go. This is great. So trained in Reiki and then trained also in integrated energy therapy, which is what I now teach, and then trained in a whole bunch of different modalities. And so about 13, 14 years ago is when they showed me start combining these two things together. And so doing the channeling and the energy healing together is what I've been really doing since. So that's kind of how it got started and how it developed to where it is now.
Okay, a couple clarifying questions. When you say in your waking hours, deceased people started quote unquote appearing to you, tell me what you saw. Like, what actually did you see? Like an outline, a color field? What did you see?
So it comes through really in all ways. So I remember one of the first experiences was I was walking with a friend and there was this male and I know what other people can't see. It's somewhere between you and I looking at each other right now. And if you were to close your eyes and you were to visualize your bedroom, and somewhere between that, but closer to this visual of you and I looking at each other. And so full form male that was walking behind us. And in my mind, I kept saying, like, who is this and why are they here? And I kept hearing the word uncle. And I wasn't saying anything because this was new and I didn't, was just like, what is happening? And then my friend that I was walking with started talking about how her uncle had just passed away. And I was like, okay, this is the uncle. And so it came through visually, like the clairvoyance. But then it very quickly developed into it might be I was hearing things being delivered by the person who was showing up. I always describe it as if we were to walk into a restaurant and you might see 30 people and I see 45, but I know who you're not seeing. And so because they're elevated, they kind of come into me like a flash. And I've learned to filter all of that out. So just like if you were walking into a restaurant and you were looking for your friend, you don't care about the other people who are in the restaurant because you're just looking for your friend. I'm doing the same thing, filtering all that out because I'm just looking for my friend. In the beginning, it was if I leaned into that grandmother with a cat on her lap over that person over there that I don't know, I would get an influx of information coming through about that person that I don't know. And it felt invasive. And so that's when I really started to understand the importance of the screen. And that was when that strategy was given to me. And so part of that was, okay, I can recognize that they're here, but it doesn't mean that I need to be interacting with any of them.
I want to ask a question on behalf of those people who have lost loved ones and have thought, I want to go to a medium, but I don't trust mediums. How do I know this is a good medium? I went to a medium. I'm not sure that they were actually in contact with the spirit of the deceased person I love. I feel tricked. Like there's a whole slew of questions that come up because people care so much, of course, about this potential connection. And so I'm wondering how you work with that with the people that come to you and all of the doubt and skepticism that you have, perhaps from other experiences.
So when people come to me, I don't know anything about them. Typically, those are the ones I love the most, actually, are the ones that I don't know anything about. And I don't ask them anything. So when they come in, all I know is I have their contact information, like their cell phone number and their first name. And everybody that I work with has come from somebody else. So it's all word of mouth. And so when they come in and they sit down, I just share very quickly about the story and who I am and how I got to what I'm doing. And then I just say, okay, I'm just going to start channeling and I'm just going to go along. I'm going to stop along the way and say, does this make sense to you? And And then there's a little bit of a back and forth that will happen as I'm sharing something. And then the person says, oh, yeah, this makes sense because. And so it just unfolds. But it's not just people who have passed, loved ones who have passed. A lot of times it's also about where somebody is in this Earth School journey, hurdles and obstacles that are in the way, things like that, where I'll just sit and just roll and so much information comes through. And they sit there with their eyes wide open and they're, saying, holy cow, how do you know this? Well, I don't. It's being given to me. And so it's not me, it's me kind of stepping aside so that whatever it is that is most important that that person hears that day is what comes through. And it's typical that I will, my sessions are an hour or an hour and a half long, and it's typical that I'm really having to cut it off to then get into the energy healing piece. I could just sit there with somebody for 5 hours and be channeling through everything that's in that space with them. So my experience with people who have lost significant loved ones, and that's really their intention for coming, is that those loved ones come through in such powerful ways with so much detail that the person says, oh my gosh, there's no way you would know this information, or nobody else knows this, or whatever. And it's so clear and confirming. And so that's just been my experience over and over and over again. But it doesn't mean that everybody who comes through the door is going to be hearing from loved ones, right? Because they might be coming through the door because they're dealing with something else that's more pressing. And so the message is coming from a place that might be higher, that is important for what they're hearing in that day. So I love working with people that I don't know because my head can't get in the way. I know nothing. And I just basically step aside and just let that channel, that source energy to come through to light up whatever it is that that person's in need of. But it's also been interesting because information has often come through that that person themselves does not actually even know. I had a situation recently where a woman's husband had passed, and there was some information that he came through in regards to a medical condition that his children, they didn't know about this medical condition, but that his children also have. And so she actually went and got these children tested, and it did turn out that they also had this, which was great that they know this now, that they could be on top of it. So information will sometimes come through that they don't even know themselves. And then through the course of time going on and then things unfolding the way that they show us that they would, or going and meeting with the right person, that information is then unfolded. So, yeah.
In your case, the mediumship, the channeling happened first, and then later you started working with healing modalities and techniques, hands-on energy, hands-on healing, and other things like that. For most people, I think it's the opposite way. Maybe they learn Reiki or start doing therapeutic touch, and before you know it, they feel like an energy is moving through them. Maybe you can talk about that and why, in your case, it happened the other way around. But for most people, it seems the energy healing part comes first.
Yeah, Tami, that's so true. And I've trained hundreds of people in IET, integrated energy therapy, and really all of them. It is especially where it's an attunement based technique, and the attunement, opening up that fourth through the eighth chakra, bringing in that IET energy, really does open up more pathways, and they become energetically more intuitive the more that they then work with that gift. And so I've seen it and I've got healing teams of people that have trained with me and have wanted more. And so I continue to guide and train them each month. And it's been such a blessing to watch as their own personal gifts unfold and open up as they become more energetically intuitive, clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, claircognizance, in all those different ways. I don't know why things opened up for me as a medium. I certainly didn't go looking for it. It really knocked my socks off, to be honest with you, when it happened, and for everybody that knew me as well. And again, resisted it a lot in the beginning because I didn't want to be, my life was full. I had three young daughters. I was working at Simmons College, and my life was full. What is this? And what do I do with this? And it just was an area I knew nothing about this. So I don't actually know why this came through to me. I am so grateful that it did because it's been the biggest blessing in my life. And it's given me such a powerful and impactful way to help others. So I'm so grateful for that. But I do love that as I did a couple of years doing the channeling, that they then started showing me putting my hands on people, because I do feel like that is just a really additional powerful way to support and help people. And so it's really that, in teaching the integrated energy therapy, has become a passion for me. My line always is that I feel like everybody should be trained in IET, like everybody should be trained in CPR.
For
You
people
know,
who are hearing about IET for the first time, can you introduce it? And also, when you say it's an attunement technique, what you mean by that?
Absolutely. And so integrated energy therapy, and the website is learniet.com, to me was really powerful. So it is separate into, there's basic, intermediate, and advanced. And with the basic, with all three of the different trainings, they're about 6 to 8 hours in length for the training. And at the end of the training, you're able to do, for example, when you take a basic IET session on anybody. You can do a remote healing. You can do self-treatments. And it is really beautiful the way that the IET energy flows. So it is a light touch, and then you're working with integration points that are like acupressure points. So it's where the energy flows closest to the surface of the skin. And that's where that IET blast comes in. And so there's first the light touch, and then there's that real strong connection. And so it just really helps to clear those imprints that are in the energy field. So integrated energy therapy clears the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual layer of the energy field. So it clears through all layers. And you're receiving the source energy coming from that highest realm through the healer, out through the hands to the client. And I use the word healer because that's kind of the name that's most given. What I would really call it truly actually is facilitator, because in that integration energy process, we are really creating the space for the client to do the healing. And so it is self-controlled by the client's energy body. We might want to be clearing something. I have a lot of people who come to me, say with cancer, using this as like a way to support them as they're going through treatments in regards to that. And it's really interesting how powerful that support can be. But, it is also whatever it is that their energy field can take in. And so we are the facilitators, and the client is actually the healer. The attunement is something that we as the instructors do in the session. And so it is looks like a nice deep meditation. People are all sitting there, and they are just quiet and receiving, and we're opening up the energy field. We're bringing this integrated energy therapy into the energy field and then closing it into that space. And so it really, the way that I kind of view this is that it really elevates them on their own spiritual journey, on their path, and again, allowing them to become an even greater extension of this energy intuitiveness. A lot of people are trained in other modalities when they come to me to be trained with integrated energy therapy. So it's a wonderful modality that can be combined with others. I'm trained in many things, but I always say that IET is my foundation. So all of my healings and all of the healers, I work with about 80 healers that I train with every month. All of them, we all start the energy healing session the same way. And then we really go where we're guided to go, and using the additional techniques and different modalities that we've been trained in for the healing session. So every session looks different.
There's so much I want to talk to you about, Laurie, and we're going to cover a lot of it. But when you say that you have this conviction that we should be trained in IET like people are trained in CPR, that it's sort of part of our personal first aid kit that we have, I wonder, at what point will this all be considered normal? Like, yeah, you're putting your hand, you're channeling energy. Yeah, you're, hearing deceased people give messages like you're in that sense someone from the future, but I wonder how you view that. Well, in a few decades, this will all be sure, of course.
Tami, you're making it happen now. Right? By bringing all of this into society, into a place where it's normal. And so look at meditation, right? Meditation used to be viewed more woohoo, and now it is everywhere. Everybody talks about meditation. It's not strange. It's absolutely wonderful. And I hope that energy healing gets to that point quickly as well. And really, it is something that opens up, we're meant to be the mind, the body, the spirit, right? But so many people are like really actually navigating life from the mind body only. So when we bring in that spirit piece, that soul piece, and we're opening up that connection, it's so powerful. And in my view, the way that they, meaning everything in my spiritual support group, kind of shows it to me is that we were at that soul level. We've stepped into this earth school for a short amount of time, and then we're back up to that soul level. So the forever piece of us is that energy of the soul. The mind, the body, the personality is left behind when we transition back to the other side. And so if we all were trained in even just basic IET, it would open up that connection, and it would be a different world. People were out operating from that expanded space instead of just working from the mind, the intellect, the ego.
In the Phenomena podcast, we learn more about some of the new science and research that is demonstrating the efficacy of energy healing. But I'm curious through your experience as one of these extraordinary healers, what you experience. Do you enter a specific type of state, like you're talking about attuning to what do you pick up on when you're working with someone? Are you sensing their energetic blocks more than just blocks? Is it that you're listening to your guides? We haven't heard very much about who they are, what they're doing. Are they specific individuals? And it's more about these other energies that are working through you. What's your experience as the quote unquote facilitator?
That's such an excellent question. So when I go into the space, first of all, before I even start my day, before I get out of bed, I'm up in prayer, and I'm doing this prayer and meditation. So I'm aligning myself each day before I get out of bed and into the fullness of this kind of flow of that main life force energy with Mother Earth, Father Spirit. So I'm in that space from the beginning of the day. And then before I have any clients coming in, I'm really preparing the space. I have client after client, I might be going like 8 hours a day, pretty much 5 days a week. I try not to work on the weekends, but it often happens I'm doing a couple sessions then too. And so oftentimes in the morning when I am up in prayer, they're giving me a data dump of information of the people I'm going to be seeing that day. And so before that person even walks in my house, there's oftentimes information that I'm receiving on them. When we're then sitting and doing the channeling part, there so much stuff comes out in that, and they're confirming what it is that I'm seeing and all of that, whether it's physical body, whether it's emotional experiences, whether it's belief systems they're stuck with, whatever. So that when I get them on the table, there's so much that I'm already aware of. I then go into prayer, asking that this session be for the person's highest good and highest healing, and that we're all protected in a bubble of white light and love. And then connecting through a heart link to all in my spiritual support group, bringing down this ball of energy, which is really bringing it from that highest elevation in spirit down to the lowest vibration of the physical body. And that's where we start. And so through the prayer and that heart link and that starburst of energy, that's where things really start to light up for me. So for me, and every healer's different, so I'm just explaining from what I experience, is that for me, the room gets really packed. So I might have loved ones that are in the room. I will always have angels, guides, ascended masters that are showing up. So oftentimes people will say to me, it was so crazy when your hands were on my heart, I felt somebody at my feet. And I'm like, yep, they were. And so it's not just my hands on the client, but it's so much more that is in spirit. And at the whole time that I'm doing the healing, that divine light is coming down through me, overflowing in the heart, coming down the arms, out through the hands to the client. And so when you're giving a healing, you're also receiving a healing because that divine light's going down through you. And so I always feel cleared and filled with joy every time I'm doing a healing, which is really powerful. And so I'm really sharing from my lens. Other healers, the person comes in, they talk with the client about what their intention is for the healing, they get on the table and they start. Some of the healers in my groups will also receive the way that I do in seeing things and hearing things and all that. Others healers, it might come through somatically. They might feel hot. They might, with their hands, they might feel vibration in different areas. Other healers might be seeing colors. So people will receive it given the different clairs that have developed in different ways. So there's a lot of different ways that energy will show up to people and where the blocks are. To me, I see it on everybody wherever I'm going, right? I don't tell anybody what I'm seeing when I'm out and about, but it comes through really quickly. And so it might be physical things like what's going on with the right shoulder, right? And so it's just clearing imprints and clearing blocks that are in that right shoulder. I typically don't talk during the healing unless there's information that they need to hear on the spot or something that I want them to be a part of in a technique I'm using with them. I typically tend to do it in silence. And part of that for me is because there's so much information coming in as I'm doing it. And it also allows the client to really relax and go deep and often fall asleep. So at the end, we'll then have a quick debrief about what it is that I was experiencing, what they were experiencing. And then I always do a really deep grounding on them at the end and remind them that this energy healing goes on for the next couple of days. So some people might feel a tremendous amount in the healing itself. Other people might just feel like really relaxed. And then the next day they wake up and say, I get a text from them. Oh my gosh, what did you do to me? I feel like I was run over by a bus. Right. And I say, great, because there's a lot that was shifting. And then I'll say, just give it a day, drink lots of water, flush, flush, flush. And then the next day, they're feeling fantastic. So everybody's experiences are different, both as a client and as a healer.
You mentioned that when you're doing a healing, there's a lot in the room, a lot of, I presume you mean other beings, presences, intelligences. What about right now? I see you in a room with some books and stuff. Are you experiencing the room having other occupants?
Oh, yeah. I'm
Like
so
who?
in this conversation. So it's so interesting because I could go through and share with you, but what I would like to say first before I do that is that the way that I receive this now and understand this is that they need to work with our brain. And so, as I might be perceiving, say, Mother Mary, I would use the word Mother Mary for that high vibrational energy. Somebody else might put a different name to that. And so I understand that what comes through to me is based on what my experience or what my understanding is. What I will say about loved ones is that they will this like that other side, it's one big energy. Okay, we're all in this collective energy of one on the other side. And so when they individuate, they'll come through as, for example, the physical being of my grandmother. So I'm experiencing my grandmother in the room with me right now. And so to me, it looks like my grandmother. I can hear her voice coming through to me, the feeling, I'm smelling roses, all of those different things. And so that to me is my grandmother. But I do believe that they are working with us more than us necessarily naming. So many times people will say, who's my guide? And I hesitate to say or to describe a specific one because there's so much in our spiritual support group. And if we get our heads attached to just one, then we're missing out. And so even when I do prayer, when I go up to everything in our highest realm in prayer, I have a specific kind of very basic thing that I say, and then I end with all. because I think that the capacity of everything that is in our spiritual support group is so far beyond what we can even comprehend that I never want to limit it to specific ones that I know, if that makes sense.
It doesn't, the fact that you're smelling roses right now, I find that very interesting. I have this little vial on my desk that has some rose essence in it because I love smelling roses, but I'm not smelling them without opening this rose essence bottle. So no
So
wonder you're in such a good mood, Laurie. I'm like, what's going on with her? She's so happy, but you're also in a space that it sounds is elevated and includes even these beautiful scents.
Tami, I love the way that they show this to me in that joy is our highest vibration. It's the highest vibration that we can be in this earth school. This is the way it's shown to me. Everything in our spiritual support group is at the highest vibration. So when we are able to elevate to that vibration of joy, we are the closest to them in that space. And so it is pretty much everybody who knows me says she's always like this. But yes, I'm so human and I absolutely have my painful moments and
Sure.
my tears and my frustrations and all of that. But with the experiences that I've been able to go through, given this work, and I work with people in such painful situations, people who have lost children, lots of people have lost children, people who have lost spouses, people who are at end stages of life, people who have had terrible diagnoses, people who have been pulled out of sex trades. I mean, you name it, I work with it. But it is recognizing, and very much screen as well, recognizing this earth school experience being what is giving us the opportunity for our souls to learn the lessons that it needs for the advancement on the other side. It's not about this place. It's about what we get from here that we're then bringing back with us to the other side. And so I am very blessed in my life with an amazing family and, an amazing family of origin and all of that. But I also am so grateful to have this experience of knowing this kind of greater picture because it does really help because we're human and it's earth school and we're all going to go through the hurdles and obstacles and I'm absolutely in that too. It really helps to keep things in the right perspective. And so it is a space that we all can choose. In fact, I share with so many people that the greatest way for them to start their day is starting with gratitude. Right? If we could sandwich our day starting as we're first waking up in the morning with gratitude and ending our day as we're going to sleep with gratitude, it really shifts the lens. And so in any given day, we can talk about the hard things that happened and we can talk about the things that were amazing that happened, but it's our choice, free will, on which one we tend to focus on. Right. And this work in the knowings and the way that they've shown all of this to me, it's just profoundly important how we are focusing on gratitude. And I do believe that free will choice is so important. Gratitude aligns with abundance. We can choose that, or we can choose fear, negative energy, and depletion. Right. And so, again, it's not to say that I don't have my hard moments. I sure do. But the more that I'm in this work and the more that I'm channeling and the more that I'm in this flow with the energy and this highest source coming through, the more I do experience a high, high level of joy.
I'd love if you could gift our listeners with something that will help them actually experience that. Because I think we hear a lot from various, self-help podcasts and teachings, gratitude in the morning, think of the things you're grateful for. But it's not in the flow that you're describing, that you're in. And I want to take people there, like into the experience. How can you help us with that?
So I would love to take you through the rolling of the energy.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay. So if you are sitting in a chair and your feet are flat on the ground, and you take a deep breath and you roll your shoulders back, head up, And a deep exhale. And then just visualizing the opening up at the top of the head. And this is a fake it till you make it, but just visualizing divine white light from above coming down through your head, neck and shoulders, coming down your arms, coming down your torso, all the way down over your hips, coming down your legs, knees, lower parts of your legs, down through your feet, and visualizing roots from the bottom of your feet going deep into the earth. Big, big roots, like they're like the trees, the big, huge trees and those roots that they have. Those are the roots going from the bottom of your feet and go all the way down into that bright core center of the earth. That's where that healing energy of the earth is, that liquid fire of the earth. Bring it all the way down, right into there. Don't fear it. Keep going. All the way down. Good. And then visualize dropping 2 anchors right into the center of the earth. And now we're going to take a deep 6-second inhale from the center of the earth, all the way up through those roots, up through your legs, torso, out through your head, into spirit, all the way up, as high as you can go. And a deep 6-second exhale, divine white light, all the way down through your entire body, through those roots into the center of the earth. And one more deep inhale from the center of the earth, all the way up through those roots, up through your legs, torso, out through your head, into spirit, higher. Deep exhale, divine white light, all the way down and through. Beautiful. Excellent. So the reason this is important is because this is getting you in the flow of those two main life force energies, the Mother Earth energy and the Father Spirit energy. And when we're in that flow, we're no longer pressure cookering from our head to our feet. We tend to build in here and pressure cooker in here. We're now becoming a conduit of those two energies. So as we're flowing that energy in both directions, it's like a mini healing. So if we do this every morning, it's like a mini healing. It's opening up all the chakras, it's clearing whatever is in the way, and it's expanding it. So now we're starting our day heart-centered. When these two main life force energies are flowing, they meet heart center. This is where we're meant to live from, not from the spinning head, from heart center. And so that is just a fabulous practice to be doing. First thing in the morning, you can do it laying in a horizontal position. You can do it sitting up with your feet on the floor. You can do it standing up. But when we roll that energy, it really becomes very expansive. It's opening us all the way up through the energy field and expanding us beyond that, the physical body. It's also a wonderful way to open up that connection to the divine. And so I say to people, if they have not done anything in opening it up, and there's a million ways that we can get there, right? We can go out for a hike, we can go for a walk, go for a run, we can listen to music, we can do artwork, like so many different ways for us to connect with and open up the connection to all in our spiritual support group. Prayer, meditation, yoga, you name it, whatever it is that works for people. But a great way to start is first thing in the morning, before we get out of bed, before we even open our eyes, rolling of this energy and gratitude. So if we start off the morning just for 2 minutes, rolling the energy and going up into what it is we are feeling grateful for in that day, then that's like the light switch is being turned on and we are connected. And so that's a really powerful way to start the day. And then throughout the day, if you find yourself spinning in your head because life is crazy and chaotic, go back into it, right? And here's the thing. A lot of my clients, when I give this to them, they'll feel it when they're with me. And then I hear all the time, I felt it so deeply when I was with you. And then when I went to try it on my own, I couldn't feel it. And what I say to them is keep doing it. You need to develop it as a norm. And that's when you'll let go and the energy will flow. And so don't be frustrated if you try it and say, what is she talking about? I don't feel anything. Keep going. right? Do it once a day, do it twice a day. But the other thing that's beautiful is that when we find ourselves in a dysregulated space, like our head is spinning and we've got all this going on, and we just take 15 seconds to flow that energy, it gets us out of the head and back into the heart. And the heart is where we are connected to the divine, or this is the way that they show it to me, is that that's the soul piece, that's that soul connection, that's where intuition is, right? It's our connection to everything in our spiritual support group. So if we live from that heart-centered space, the intellect then supports it. It actually elevates the intellect and the intuition when we're really focusing on living from that heart space. We're meant to be highly intellectual, but we're meant to be highly intuitive. So if we lean only into the head and what the head knows and not into what that gut heart knows, then we're really limiting ourselves. When we start to listen first to that intuitive knowing, listening to the heart, that then elevates the intellect. And now the sky is the limit, right? Now we're absolutely able to function with both.
Earlier, I heard you use this phrase heart link. And I thought, oh, I've never heard that before. What is that referring to? The link part.
So that is something that integrated energy therapy has as a technique, and it's a beautiful technique where you basically are starting from your heart center and you're sending a golden cord or a white light from your heart center up through your neck, up through your head, out all the way, connecting with whatever it is you wish to connect with in spirit. So it could be an ascended master, Angel Ariel is the highest angel of healing. It could be that, a higher energy, whatever it is. Go higher than the level of the loved ones. And once we have that connection, then that beautiful love and compassion from spirit comes back down through that same channel, through your head, neck, all the way down into your heart chakra. And that divine love and light that comes down is tenfold what we have the capacity to put up there to them. And so it becomes this incredible expansion in the heart chakra. So a lot of people who are trained in IET love to start their day that way. They'll roll the energy, they'll do their heart link, and they feel like, wow, they're starting their day really lifted.
As a facilitator of healing, I can appreciate the state that you're in, I think, from watching you here describe the rolling energy and the link up. Now you're working with someone. How do you sense? What is it that you sense? Like, oh, okay, I need to focus here or there. What are you sensing?
Great question. So I receive in so many ways. And I'm just going to share my experience because healers receive in different ways. The way that I experience is a whole bunch of ways. So I might be being told from someone in spirit that this is the area we need to be focusing on. And a lot of times I'm partnering. So my hands are on their heart and I've got somebody from the other side, it might be one of their loved ones or something higher, on the second chakra, say.
That's
And
interesting. That's
yeah,
interesting. So it's not
I,
just you, your team is working with you.
1,000%. And when I do my initial connection, it's to all in the spiritual support group for both of us, all in my spiritual support group, all in the client's spiritual support group.
This
And
is
so,
a very interesting phrase just to say spiritual support group. Like, okay, so it's Laurie and both of our spiritual support groups here.
yeah, that's just a Laurie expression. That's not
Okay,
IUT.
that's good.
Um, so I'm often being guided, being told where it is that I'm meant to go, and they're doing something. So somebody again might be saying, wow, when you're in my heart, like my second chakra was lit up. Yep. Right. I also will see things as color. So it might be that there's a particular heaviness or an energy. Sometimes there's really negative energy. I use the word entity energy, which can be extreme energy. And so that can be a feeling, it can be a color, it can be a texture, it can be a feeling that I might get in my heart, like, whoa, there's something big that's being released here, right? So I might see it, I might feel it, I might experience a quick sensation in my own body with it. And so there's a lot, again, just like all the clairs, right? It might come in so many of those different forms. Um, Sometimes there's like a huge buzzing of energy for me, and I might feel it somatically, I might hear it. And that's when and the goal of each of the areas that we're working on clearing is that it gets to a place of neutral. Because when we clear whatever it's there, then the body is able to go to its natural flow of ease and joy. And that is the natural byproduct of doing a healing, right? So once those feelings release, right? Whether it's coming through as, energetically as a sensation, or whether I'm hearing something, or whether I'm being guided, or whether it's just like, whoa, the person just took a deep breath and released and cleared it all, right? Then I'm like, okay, let's move on. What's the next spot?
Would you say that the main operating activity of a healing is clearing? Like clearing, is that the main thing? It's clearing the way for the person's natural healing function, clearing blockages. Is that the main thing happening?
That is exactly what I would say. I would say that the clearing of the imprints, the energy blocks that are there, so that the body can go back to its natural flow and ease, is the most important thing that's happening here. There's other areas where there might be a flow of energy, like especially if there's a depleted energy, right? Then there's like a flow of energy, a flow of divine light going through them. That's also great. And when that's happening, I'm also then able to see, okay, what other areas where the energy isn't flowing the way it should. So additional blocks are there, right? But
That's
yeah,
helpful. Clearing
yeah.
blocks and activating flow. Now, I don't want to skip over something that you said kind of casually, which was that as you're feeling and looking in, you'll see or hear or sense things that need to be removed, sometimes an entity, and then you moved on. And I was like, what? Well, there are entities that need, what are you talking about, Laurie?
That's so funny. Um, yes. So to me, there's a difference between negative energy and entity. So entity would be um, stuff that we've picked up either from past life experiences that we've brought into this lifetime with us. It could be heavy, dark energy that's entered in, at different times in our life when our energy field is weak, our bodies are weak for whatever reason, we're exhausted, or, going through some kind of a crisis in life. And so when that shows up to me, and it's so interesting because a lot of times people will come in where they're just like, I am so exhausted and depleted and I'm so depressed. Or ever since I had this particular surgery, I've been in this really dark place. Or, or I just feel like something's hanging off of me all the time, like pulling me down. When I get in there and then this is what I'm seeing, it is different than just like, oh, look at there's an imprint that's there, that a block that's there that we need to clear. It is bigger. And again, I'm always calling in support in that space when I'm clearing something like that. But it's dramatic, and it is interesting how the client is always experiencing it when it's something that's that significant. And a lot of times it will be a big flood of tears once it's been cleared.
So, Laura, you said this pretty remarkable thing that you're working with your spiritual support group, the spiritual support group of the person that you're doing a healing with, and removing blockages, activating flow. Are there specific techniques that you're using? Like, do you say a prayer to move the energy? Like, what are you actually doing? Because I know you've said you've called yourself a facilitator. How do you facilitate?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Tammy. So the whole time, once you've connected in that heart link, the whole time the energy is flowing through, overflowing in the heart, coming down the arms, coming through the hands to the client. And so as that flow of energy is coming through, it's that flow of energy, it's that source energy. That's what it is that is then helping that client to release. But remember too, we might see something and that client might not be ready to clear it yet. Right? So we can only clear what that client is ready to clear. And so again, it's why I say it's never a once and done, because we are like layers of an onion and we clear what it is that we're ready as we go, right? And some, it might feel like this incredible rocket ship ride, right? This explosion. And others, it might be much more gentle. It's whatever their body is ready for. But it is through this channeling of the energy that from the healer to the client that is then able to clear those blocks that are ready to be cleared for the client.
What would you say to the client who says, I know I have these blocks, I've been working on them. It's going to be a painful process, I sense, to release them. I want to do more so that what can I do to help release them is the question the client's asking.
Yeah, and that is such a good question because so many times people will be like, "Oh, I'm so ready to be done with this. Let's let this go." And then when I get in there, that's often the case. And sometimes when I get in there, it isn't. It's not time yet, right? There's more that they need to journey through having the experience of this before they're ready to clear it. And that's where it is this earth school journey, right, is not something that we can then cut in front of, right, and make it easier for the client. And so if they are ready to clear it, the energy healing, coming to group healings, because we'll do group healings twice a month, individual sessions. I might send them out to other healers or to other modalities to work on it, and then the work for them to do on their own. And so part of that is every single day doing that prayer or connection or whatever, however it is that they want to do the gratitude and the rolling of the energy, whatever their practice is of opening up that connection and really truly putting, I use the word prayer, but putting it up into prayer, asking for the guidance on how to clear it. And so those who are trained in IET can then also be doing self-treatments for themselves, which is going to absolutely help that to be released that much quicker too.
Now, one thing you said in passing, also, I picked up a couple of these little things. You said that in addition to receiving energy into the heart link, that you work with a type of screen, and that's part of your joy formula, if you will. That's my language, but of course, I want to learn from you about joy. Tell me about the screen and how you work with that.
So the screen was a strategy or technique that was given to me years ago when everything first came into my awake time. And I was somebody who would always carry everybody, right? Like always carrying everybody in my heart. And somebody was feeling pain and suffering, I was feeling their pain and suffering. So the screen technique was one that they gave me early on, which is basically visualizing a bubble of white light all the way around us. Okay, that is divine protection. And that bubble of white light is like the screen on the window. So the screen on the window, beautiful day, we open the window, the air comes in, the air goes out, we don't want the bugs, there's the screen. So the screen in front of that heart chakra or all the way around us, which is that bubble of white light and love, means our love can go out to the world. Love is the highest vibration. The love of the world can come into us. Thousands can be loving on you, and it's never weighted because love is light. But everybody's journey stays on the outside of that screen. So we can come to that screen, just like we can look through the screen on the window. We forget the screen is there, but it is, right? We can come to that screen with just as much love and compassion and now strength, but we're then not taking on the journey of somebody else. And so it's really the way that I view it, the purpose for us to be in this earth school is for our souls to learn the lessons it needs for the advancement. And so the way that they've shown this to me is that if I am taking off from somebody else, what it is that they're navigating through, and I try to say energetically lighten their load, I'm actually dishonoring their journey because they might now not get the lesson that they need from going through that experience, which means down the road, the universe delivers the lesson again, and this time it's harder. And so what I want to do is to energetically give them the fullness of the lesson. I'm going to hold their hand and I'm going to walk with them, but I'm not going to push them, pull them, or wear them. And so this was massive for me as an elementary teacher in my earlier years, because I was so engaged in feeling the feels of everybody and everything. And so once they gave me this strategy of the screen, it was so powerful to recognize, okay, who am I carrying? Get them on the outside of that screen. Who am I carrying? Get them out here. Who am I carrying? Get them out here, right? On the outside of that screen. Over time, things then naturally land on that screen. And there's some additional information around this screen that people who do the energy workshop that we're doing will also get is really powerful and reinforces it. But that screen to me has been life-changing, and it's really been life-changing to everyone who has worked with me in that space So many people, I can't count, have commented and said everything that they've learned from me, that's been the most transformative. Because now we're no longer carrying the weight of everybody's journey. The love of everybody is in our heart, and there can be thousands loving on us, but we're no longer putting up a wall because we're overwhelmed all the time with everyone else's energy, or wide open and being attacked by everybody else's energy. Now there's that healthy screen.
I can confirm, Laurie, that this is a challenge for many, many, many people who are drawn to the various offerings that we have. It sounds true. So many questions are always coming in, but it's this person's energy and that person's energy, and I'm this vampiric, this and that. And anyway, so I'm very grateful that you're teaching this practice of the screen in detail as part of our subtle body immersion training program. And just to let people know again, you can go to go.soundstrue.com/subtle dash energy. And if you use the code energy, you'll also get a discount if you're interested in registering for the program. Now, I mentioned that you're being profiled in the Phenomena podcast as one of the extraordinary healers. And now you also train people to be healers. Are they going to be extraordinary healers like you, or are you exceptional because of the channeling that spontaneously opened for you? Or no, I'm training a whole bunch of extraordinary healers, Tami. Which way is it?
I like to choose that everybody who chooses to align with energy work, whether through me or somebody else, is opening up to their own amazing and extraordinary self. And what I mean by that is that when we open up to this possibility of energy and to this opening and awareness of our spiritual connection and aligning and attuning with energy work, that everybody unfolds with these amazing gifts. I am no exceptional. I am no extraordinary. I am just like everybody else. And everybody has the capacity to open up to what their greatest gifts are.
You mentioned when you're giving a healing, you're receiving a healing. I know that that's true. I'm wondering, when you do this work, how do you experience the receiving of a healing while you're giving, instead of being like, oh, I'm depleted. Oh my God, I've been doing this all day. I'm exhausted. I'm burned out from my healing work.
So that divine energy is constantly coming through you because of that heart link that you establish when you're doing a technique like IET. And so that it's visualized like a waterfall of divine energy is constantly coming through, overflowing in your heart, coming down your arms and your hands for the whole time you're doing an energy healing. That in and of itself is healing. Just like the rolling of the divine energy, Mother Earth energy that we talked about earlier, if you align in that space and you do that work, you're going to feel, again, first fake it till you make it, keep doing it till you get to the point where you really feel it. You're going to feel the effects of that beautiful energy. And so that's really important. Now, there's definitely times when something's going on in my life and I need additional support. And so I'm going to turn to one of my healers and ask them to do healings on me. I'm going to turn to my sister, who's an amazing healer, and ask her to work on me. And so there's going to always be, like, we're meant to be, we can be self-treatments, but we're also meant to be in community helping each other. And that's really important, right? Is that, yeah, the majority of the time, just doing healings and that energy going through is awesome. But when we go over those tremendous hurdles and obstacles, we need additional support. And that's when we call in others to help us as well. And so there is that beautiful light and love coming through us as healers. And then there's also the community of healing. And that's what I've created with all of the healers that are on my teams.
I'm sure you could tell us remarkable healing stories, but guess what? I'm not going to ask about that. What I'm going to ask about is the situations where people didn't heal. Even though they came to you, they worked with some of the healers you've trained, even though they said to you, I'm ready to let this go. I'm doing my inner work. I'm praying morning, noon, and night. And yet, and I know some people like this, and I watched their process and I watched them die. And I've always been like, how do I understand that? And it's a mystery that I hold inside. And I'm wondering how you understand it.
Yeah, Tammy, absolutely. So I think that the biggest answer to that is that we don't necessarily know from the human realm what our spiritual journey is supposed to be. And it's Earth School and it's hard. And there's hurdles and obstacles here for all of us because that's what gives us the opportunity to learn the lessons that our soul needs for the advancement. And part of that for some people is going through significant illness and everything that they learn along the path of that illness, and that eventually does lead to their passing. And so that is something that is so hard. And, especially being human, we want everyone to thrive and be at their highest and best. And it's joyful and it's amazing. And like you said, there's thousands of stories I can share with you about that. And it's so hard when you're working with somebody and it's like things aren't shifting, right? Or they do shift and then all of a sudden that illness comes back. It's so hard and it is because of that soul's journey. So that is where it is, and sadly, I've watched several people to their passing. And what I can say to you is they weren't the same person that they were when they first came to me. And so the learning and the shifting might have been more on the spiritual level and what it is that they gained or the depth of relationship or what they were able to release and let go of. And even people who have come to me that are so far, so the body is the densest. So I've had a couple of situations where people have come to me really end stages of life. And because the body is the lowest vibration and the densest, it's the slowest to change. So they might be clearing blocks in their energy field, but the body's already been so far along in that illness that it's not enough to reverse it. Having said that, I've also seen the miracles. But it is amazing and honestly an honor to walk somebody to their passing and going through that process with them is really a gift as well. It's like when you get to be with somebody and watch the birth of a child into this earth school. It's a gift. And I think a lot of people who have been by the bedside of loved ones as they're passing, as painful as it is, are also able to see things from a really different lens when they go through that experience. And so there's not a moment that I don't say Earth School's hard, because it is. I've certainly had my hurdles and obstacles. We all do. And some are really, really significant. And so it's not about how many years that we all need to live to 120 while we're here. Like this is the hard part. This is the marathon. This is where we're all running, right? And it's hard. It's like if you picture the marathon, those who have crossed to the other side have crossed the finish line of the marathon. They're on the sidelines cheering for us. They're in the place of joy and love and light. We're the ones doing the hard work here. And so it's hard to watch as people aren't ready to go and to help them navigate through that. And it's hard when you're handling with, working with the loved ones who are left behind. But I think that there is the piece where it is remembering that as the healer, and I use the word healer, I know the client is really the healer, we're the facilitator, but we're still called healers, that in that space, it's just like with a doctor. We can do whatever it is that we can do, right? And create that space for them to heal. But if that's not meant to be part of this journey, no matter what we do, their body isn't going to physically heal. They might be able to heal in a lot of other ways, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but that physical body might be the path that they're meant to be taking.
Okay, and now that I asked you that question, you gave such a beautiful and honorable answer. Tell me a story of a healing that was not just remarkable, but it surprised and touched you in a special way.
Oh my gosh, there's so many to choose from. Um, I would say one story that was really powerful for me was early on. I had a client who came in and she said to me, she was driven here by I believe it was her husband for the first session. And she came in and she said to me, I probably have about 30 days left to live. At that point, she had stopped eating. Brain tumor, this whole kind of progression of what had happened. So we go through this whole channeling, and it came out of me ferociously that this was not her time. And we got her on the table and did this healing on her. And she still calls it her miracle healing. She's still alive to this day. And this was probably like 15 years ago. And she came out of that healing, and the first thing she said to me was, "I'm starving." I started to laugh, and I go, "I probably don't have anything here you can eat," because she was in a really restricted diet. And she said, "You probably don't." And she walked out to the car, and I believe it was her husband who was there with her, couldn't believe already how strong she was. She went home, she healed. It was amazing. And again, still alive to this day. And so that was truly one of the miracles that I experienced. Other ones, there's a lot of stories around infertility. And one particular one where there was sexual assault and clearing that from the second chakra and her releasing and letting that go. And then she was able to get pregnant. And so that was another miracle, right? I've had and seen a lot of miracles in regards to cancers and other illnesses. A lot of times I get the whole, I've been to every doctor, nobody knows what's going on with me. And so, doing work on them, and then all of a sudden it's like, I always joke about the husband who comes in last, right? Because it's like the wife comes in, then she brings the kids in, and then the last to come in is the husband. And he comes in, and this has just happened so many times that it's kind of comical to me with the back pain, the lower back pain. And so they sit there, we start the channeling session, all of this information comes through, and they sit there going, "Holy cow." Then they get on the table, we do energy work, and by no surprise, actually, their back pain's gone. And so that's always fun. There's so many stories of that one. Um, you know, I I say this really tenderly, but there are so many people that I have worked with who have lost children. And to me, that is the hardest hurdle and obstacle that I can imagine to go through while in this earth school is the loss of a child. And it is so amazing to me that when they have such clarity that their child is with them, how they're able to move forward in this world from such a different way than they were doing before when they were really stuck in the trauma. And so it's been amazing to me to see in my healing teams multiple people who have lost children who have then gone into this work of doing the energy work and always experience their child with them anytime they're doing healings, right? Being in partnership with them in that way. And I always hold in awe how they're able to navigate forward in such a powerful way, having gone through such a significant hurdle or obstacle. So I have lots of stories around, to me, that is a miracle to watch somebody's trauma really ease. And I'm not saying that it takes away from the loss that they've gone through, because that isn't something that, that I can't imagine actually getting on the other side of that ever. But watching how they're then able to really show up in this world in such a powerful way, in a positive way, even having gone through something so traumatic.
Which brings me to, we just have two questions left. This is the penultimate one. Earth school is hard, and yet joy is the highest elevated frequency, vibration we can live at. You embody and demonstrate that. How do you hold those two things together?
Honestly, Tammy, I think a big part of it is the fact that I know it's not all about this place. It's not all about Earth School, right? So I've seen so many times, like countless, endless times, when people pass, we transition to the other side. We're crossed by loved ones. We then are in that higher vibration of joy and love and light, and we go through what I call the life review. And in that life review, we are being shown our actions and our reactions and how it impacted the lives of others. And I've experienced that place with so many people, working with a loved one who's still left behind here and watching this person going through this life review. And going through the life review, and some of them go through it quickly, and some of them, they're in there for a very long time. And again, on the other side, there's no such thing as one person, one time, one place, but it's just the way my brain can understand it. And then they're really at that higher elevation of joy and love and light. And so I think because I have this experience and this deep knowing about, look, this is the, like, whatever we can do here, the best that we can do here for others, and bringing this light to others and making an impact while we're here. That's what this is about. And then we're back home to the other side. And so I think it's really so much of it, even when I go through my own hurdles and obstacles, is that it is okay, this is happening for a reason. What is the lesson I'm meant to be getting from this? Get the lesson so we don't have to do this again. And, and keep going and really showing up for people and loving people on this journey and letting the love shine and be bright. And I don't hold back in the joy or in the love because I feel like that is a way that I can help others, is by being able to elevate them and give them that sense of peace and that knowing as well. And so it is hard. And even in the hard, it is okay, what am I supposed to be getting from this? Get this lesson, and now let's move through it. And just the other piece, Tami, honestly, is knowing when we open to that spiritual lens and that spiritual support group, there is such profound support. And so it is strength, it is guidance, signs, steps, right? It is that beautiful love that comes through, that divine love, and the clarity. So every single morning I'm starting from that place. I feel so filled up and I feel so supported. We're never alone. It's our mind, right? It's the humanness of us that makes us think we're alone. But when we open up, so we're truly operating from mind, body, spirit, we realize how loved we are. And we realize that we are really hugely supported and guided. And free will, we can choose not to go with the guidance, right? That's our free will. But I think that that is um, why that's maybe easier for me to stay in that space even when times are tough.
Finally, could we end with you guiding us in a prayer that we can just join energetically with you as a way to close our
Oh,
conversation for all of us?
I love this. I love this. So I am going to be really authentic and true here, and I'm going to share with you what I do. And understand that this is just the way that I have created this or have received this. And so we can all put different names to these different things, and everybody's prayer is seen and heard. And it doesn't mean you have to do it the way that I do it. It's just going to be one that I lead us through. So I hope that everybody can be open to that and understand that this is just coming from me. Good. So I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes and just get comfy in your body for a moment. I'm going up to God, ascended masters, saints, angels, spirit guides, and loved ones, and the spiritual support group for all of us. Thank you so much for this opportunity to show up, to be honest, to be authentic. I'm so grateful for the messages that people receive, for the techniques that people can bring home. My greatest joy is to be able to open up that spiritual connection, guide people in that space so that they know that they are the mind, the body, and that soul, that spirit piece. My prayer is that all will feel that love and that guidance from all in their spiritual support group, that they will release and let go of those blocks and those imprints, of those belief systems, of the negative voice in the head that is consistently bringing them down. Please help them to know how powerful, directed, and loved their soul is, that they can align on their spiritual path so that they can be turned on by whatever it is that their authentic gift is to bring into this world. That we can be in a place of peace and love and support to each other, seeing the God light in each other, connecting from that highest vibration of love to each other. that we can go beyond the ego, beyond the judgment and comparison, so that we can see each other in that space where we are in that collective one and not so individual and separate. And I ask that there be healing that goes out to all of you who listen and receive this. Allow yourselves to open and let that energy of light come through. Know that that is source energy, and that's where healing comes from. Allow yourselves to receive it. Love self. Self-love is one of our greatest lessons here. Bring that love in. You are so worthy and deserving of receiving healing and love. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all in the spiritual support group, for all of us, for guiding us in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie Nealon. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, Laurie is one of the featured teachers in a new 6-week subtle energy healing immersion program. It starts on August 23rd, and come visit us at go.soundstrue.com/subtle-energy to learn more. Thank you, friends. Thanks to the big spiritual support group. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Tami.